I'm going to win an Oscar. Steven Spielberg will be calling me in the morning. And then it's got a big crotchy thing. I want oak because it's the best. It'd be nice. It's just like having an angel pee on your tongue. It's getting freaking hot. Holy smokes, who put all that wood on? It's another fireside chat here on the woodyard today. Here we go. It's a beautiful evening. It is June right now. For you, it might be July, but for me, it's June. And that's one of the first questions I'm going to address. Some people will see videos of mine that there will be snow in the videos, but yet they've already got green grass. Well, number one, I live in Wisconsin. We have summer. It usually lasts from the 4th of July to about the 10th of July. So there's that. And I usually am at least 2 weeks, more than likely 3 to 4 weeks ahead of my videos or behind. I say ahead because I've got right now literally, I think I've got 15 videos uploaded ready to go that are all edited and ready for you guys to watch. And then I've got another 35, maybe 40 videos shot that are just sitting here waiting for me to edit, which I do try to do in patches. I do a couple at night here, a couple at night there. Sometimes I'll do one in the morning. Sometimes I don't do any editing just because I don't have time, but there's a lot of days I shoot 2, 3, 4 videos. Today I've already shot 2 videos before this one. So 2. So this is number 3. So if I have to have a video every day for you guys, which you seem to enjoy, it takes a lot of forethought to make sure I have videos on a consistent basis for you guys to watch. And it's real easy for me to shoot videos because I do several different things each day, and I don't do one thing for 12 hours or 16 hours straight every day. I might do 4 or 5 different things in one day. So it's real easy to do 2 videos, very common. A lot of days I'll shoot 3 like today. And then there's other days I don't do anything. I might edit or I'll work on my other business, so I won't be around at all. But when I say ahead, what I mean is that I've got videos ready to go for you guys so that every day there are videos and I've got a backlog of stuff to edit. So I can always keep producing more so that they're ready to go for you guys. It's how I've been able to do a video every day for 5 years now. That might change. And that's the other reason I'm bringing this up. I have gotten to the point where it's a little too much like work now because I want to put more time into the videos. And because of that, it takes more time to make them better. I want to make them better for you because the more I work on them, the better I make them, the more you guys seem to like them. So I'm going to probably start changing. I've been talking about this for a while now, and I just keep pumping them out because it's so easy for me to shoot them, and then I try to batch edit so that I have lots for you guys to watch. And it's real common that I will have lots of videos ahead. I just got to get them edited. That's my big bottleneck right now, is the editing. I'm thinking about hiring someone for editing. That's one option. Another option is don't shoot as many videos. Don't shoot every day. I mean, don't shoot for a video every day. Maybe I'll go every other day. I've been talking about it now for at least a year. But I've had 5 years study now. That's over 1,800 videos that I've done. And it's a lot. It's a lot. I don't mind doing it, but I want to do different types of videos that are going to require more research, more testing, more shooting, more editing, more production, and that I want to produce videos that are what's called more evergreen. What that means is videos that will be interesting today, they'll be interesting tomorrow, a month from now they'll still be interesting, a year from now they'll still be interesting, 5 years from now there'll still be information in there that people will come to watch and learn from, and 10 years from now they can still get information from it. That is what evergreen content is. I'm not at all interested in viral videos where I just all of a sudden I get, 1 million views on the video. It's fine if it happens, but that's not my intent. My intent and what I want to do with the channel and with the videos that I produce is to keep having them just keep getting views. I don't want explosive growth. That tends to be a bad thing. I want to get steady views. Holy smokes, I got sparks flying everywhere. I threw some cedar in there and it's just exploding. It's popping way over there. Now hopefully I don't get burned here. I got some more cedar sitting here, but I don't think I'm going to put it in because it is snap-a-lacking. Okay, so in a nutshell, I might be cutting back pretty soon. My goal was to get to 5 years, and that's here. I've been doing videos every day for 5 years now. So I think it's time to focus more on better videos and less of the what's called daily content, vlogging type stuff where I just show you what I'm doing each day. I don't mind doing those, but they do require a lot of extra work. What I want to do is maybe focus more on videos where they can be watched way in the future and still be beneficial for an audience, so that when I'm old and older and crippled and worthless, which I'm almost there now, that it can be stuff that will still get views and get watched, and I can pay some bills with. That's the plan. So I've been asked quite a few times by new people to the channel, you know, you're so lucky you've got all this equipment. You know, you've got all those chainsaws, you've got dump trailers, you've got a nice new truck, you've got processors, you've got a tractor, you've got all this implements, you got all this stuff. And they don't realize that I started with one chainsaw, a small one, a weenie one, and one splitting maul. That was it. I borrowed a trailer from a buddy of mine. That was all I had to start with. And that was 15 years ago. I mean, I've always cut firewood. I always had a chainsaw and cut stuff for myself. But then I started producing enough that I could actually sell some. So I started doing that. I just kept reinvesting the money. Holy smokes, we got sparks everywhere. Watch out, run for your lives. Hide the women and children. I just kept reinvesting what I made from selling firewood into getting bigger, better, faster equipment. Because that's really the name of the game. You can buy equipment to do, well, several things. One of them is to save time, which is the number one. Can you be more productive with a better piece of equipment? Can it produce wood product faster? That's number one. Can you buy time? And the more you spend, generally, the more you can produce. So that's job one. Number two is to relieve yourself of manual labor. Get stuff with hydraulics. So whether that's a tractor, a dump trailer, a processor, splitter, take full use of hydraulics. The more hydraulics you can employ in your business, the longer you'll be able to do it. Save your body. Yes, I know there's a lot of he-men out there that tell me they can keep up with any splitter with an axe. No, they can't. They can't. Good story I have to tell you is that when Bert and Adam and I were up at my brother Ken's 3 years ago now, I want to say, 2.5 years ago, one half a day we cut up a complete semi-load. So that's 12 full cords of hard maple. I think we cut from, I don't know, we must have started like at 8 in the morning, and by 2, maybe 3 o'clock in the afternoon, we were done. Kenny just kept bringing us logs with the tractor, setting them on top of stuff we had cut up and then pushing stuff up, and we just kept cutting. We cut 12 full cords, and we got done, took a break, had something to eat. We thought, you know, we still got a couple hours of daylight. Maybe we could split a couple cords. We thought a couple cords, you know. We had the Ultra, and there was 3 of us. So one guy was on the lever. That's all he did was the lever. Another guy lifted rounds up to the table. And another guy was either shoving the rounds off or just helping clean debris or bringing rounds to the guy that was loading so that we had them right there. And we let the machine just push the splits off the end. We had the 4-way wedge on. We just split everything into quarters, and the machine just kept moving. We split for maybe 3 hours, but that lever never stopped. It was steady, forward, reverse, forward, reverse, forward, reverse. And if you've ever seen the Ultra run, the Eastamade Ultra, it's got a 4-second cycle time. But with hard maple in the wintertime when it's cold, you don't have to do a full stroke. About a half a stroke and it would pop apart, so you can come back, drop another log in, hit it again. So it just kept pushing the stuff out. As it pushed the material out, the whole machine just kind of walked away from the pile, and we went into the pile that needed, the rounds that needed to be split. We split half a semi-load, so that was 6 full cords we split in a matter of just 2 hours, 2.5 hours. So hydraulics are tremendous. Now, you might be good with an axe or a maul. You might be, You might be Mr. Marvelous, Mrs. Wonderful, whatever you are, but you cannot split as much wood with an axe or a maul for 12 hours straight that a splitter can do. Can't be done. But if you let the hydraulics do the work, you can do a lot. Now with my Ultra by myself, I can easily do about a cord an hour. So if I started in the morning and I split for 12 hours straight, I know I could do a full semi-load. The weak link is going to be me lifting the rounds up. But if I have it all organized where it's all in a pile or it's in a row and I can just eat right into it, let the wood fall off, I could do a full semi-load in a day. I know I could. I have never done that because I have no need to. But I do know that there is absolutely no way that I could split that much wood with a maul or an axe. I'd be good for maybe a couple hours, take a break, maybe I could go another hour, take a break, maybe I could go another hour. But after 4 or 5 hours of hard manual labor swinging an axe, that would be about it. And if, say you're a young man who's in top physical condition and you're in your mid to late 20s and you have some technique and you have knowledge of how to do it, you might be able to do 6, 7 full cords, maybe, but that's a lot. That is a lot. So hydraulics, game changer. So the question basically was that, you know, how did I get all this equipment? You can do it, but I can't. How did you do it? Well, I just didn't spend my money on foolish things. I didn't buy stuff I didn't need. I separated my wants from my needs. I made sure that the money that I made went back into either buying more wood, faster machines, better machines, tools that I could use in the wood yard to make my wood easier to produce, and I can produce it faster. So first thing I did was I got a better chainsaw, better, faster chainsaw. Then I bought a second one. I've talked about this in lots of videos. And then the next thing I bought after that was a bigger truck. The next thing after that, dump trailer. After the dump trailer, faster splitter. Yeah, it was right around then is when I got the faster splitter. And then it was kind of off to the races. Once I had good chainsaws, a faster splitter, and a dump trailer, everything else is possible. Then I got the tractor, then I got the processor. One of the things that a lot of guys don't know about, well, I shouldn't say that. A lot of you do know about it, but there's a lot of you that don't put 2 and 2 together. Having help is huge, whether you hire it or you have friends or you trade your skills and services for someone else's labor. That's what I would do. So having friends is tremendous. You can do a lot of things for each other, save each other time, and working together is way more fun, way more efficient, and you can do it for them and then they can do it for you. It works great. Scratching each other's back is a good thing. So like I said, I started with a splitting maul and a little weenie chainsaw, 55 Husqvarna Ranger. That's all I had. Just kept buying more stuff as I could. I didn't spend the money on stupid stuff. I didn't buy a great big huge dozer. I didn't buy a bigger trailer than I really needed. I got the one that served the purpose. I didn't borrow the money. I basically took the money that I made and stuck it right back into it, because if you borrow the money, you're just paying it right to the bank. That's just a foolish thing to do. So that's basically how I did it. Also, another thing that a lot of people don't realize, they think, oh, you just buy better equipment and you're going to be successful. No, I put the time into it. Time is huge. A lot of people say, oh, you got to work smarter. You know, you got to do things with machinery. Yeah, that's great, but you still got to work hard. You got to do both at the same time. Both. One guy asked me, he says, well, you know, what do you do with all your money? It's like, well, I reinvest it. I have 3 sources of income. Most people have 1. I have my photography studio. I've been self-employed there. I've had that for 30-some years. I gotta think here, 36 years I've been self-employed. So there's that. I didn't do just photography. I taught photography on the side. And then my slow season, I would do other things. I had other side businesses. I sold stuff on Amazon for a while. I was a rep for a product in the hunting industry. So I went and sold at all the trade shows and all the hunting shows that are around the United States. And I got product that I would source myself from manufacturers and sell it, but I had a friend that produced a product and he needed someone to do it. So I went and did that. Long weekends, a lot of weeks I was gone during my slow time of year. So took that money and then reinvested it. I've done some other side businesses. My brother and I do some other things to make money. And then I started the firewood thing, and that turned into a whole nother business. So it's another source of income. And then after a while, I started YouTube about 5 years ago, and that's a whole nother source of income. So on average, I work 12, 14 hours a day. That's an average. Sometimes I'll put in 16, 17, 18. Yes, there are days I don't work. I take time off. But even on my days off, on my vacation days when I'm gone, this goes with me. I'm answering comments. I'm editing videos. I'm taking care of business when I can. So you got to be relentless. You got to just put the time into it. That's what it takes. You can't just put in your 40 hours a week. What I mean putting your 40 hours in, most people are at work for 40 hours, but they only work about 20 to 30 tops. That's average. If you want to be above average, you got to do more than what's average. What the heck is this smoke coming in my face? So yeah, I work a lot of hours. It's how I became successful. And I work hard at trying to do better and better things all the time, no matter what it is, whether it's my photography business, firewood business, or on YouTube. I just keep trying to do better things. The wind just changed. It's right in my eyes. Got to put some more wood in. Oh, speaking of wood, I'm going to show you guys something before we get back to comments here. I want to show you something. I thought of this when I was getting this wood out. A lot of people ask me what's my favorite kind of wood. I burn the junk here. I take the stuff that nobody wants, and that's what I burn. I'm just going to show you a sampling here of the high quality wood that I have. Check this stuff out. This is what I burn. Okay, so I get chunks like this. This is a chunk of cherry. Didn't bother splitting it. That's mine. Because I can't really stack it. No one wants to stack it. No one wants it. This is a piece of, it was a crotch with a piece sticking out. This is a piece of, what the heck is this? Hickory. It's a piece of hickory. Mine. Here's another ugly one. You get a piece that was ripped, I can see here, and then it's got a big crotchy thing. Now, this is the kind of wood a lot of people look at and they say, oh, that's terrible looking wood. Yeah, but you know what? It's excellent firewood. I'm not going to put that one in. And then I bring a lot of this kind of stuff home. Short chunks. This is another shorty right here. That is a piece of, oh, what the heck is this? I'll think of it. Can't think of what to call it. I'll think of it in a minute. Here's another one. Crotchy stuff that, you know, a lot of people look at, oh, that's ugly. But you know what? When you get that tight grain like that in that wood, that's the good stuff. It's going to bug me that I can't think of what that's called. It's not Osage orange, but it's like it. Mulberry. That's what that is. That's a chunk of mulberry. I know that because I know the pile I got it from, and I know I got mulberry from a street side. Somebody had left a bunch of wood out front. I delivered wood to a customer, and their neighbor had cut a tree down, that tree. And the neighbor came over when I was at my dump truck. I says, hey, do you want some wood? And they had it all cut in rounds, but it was all different sizes. It was this big and this big and this big. And I said, sure, I'll take it and I'll use it for something. So I ended up that I'm burning a lot of it. So mulberry, that's what that is. The other one right there is a piece of maple. The other one is a piece of oak right there. And then that middle one, I don't know what that is. Then I've got cedar right here, which I burn myself. I don't really sell that to anybody. I got a bunch of chunks of cherry here. I actually like the cherry the best myself. I burn a lot of that. A lot of the odds and ends is what I bring home. And I don't really have like a big wood rack. I just have a bunch of it alongside of the garage. So there'll be days when I'm cleaning up areas where I see there's, I would say like a wheelbarrow full, maybe two, of stuff that didn't really get put away. It's not in a tote. It's not put into bins. It's odds and ends that got chucked. I just throw it in the truck and I bring it home. And then I just kind of pile it up, stack it up alongside of my garage. Because on the far side of my garage, we have a river rock around the house. And I don't even have a rack or anything. I just stack it up along there. I might have, it's probably half of a full cord. That's about all I keep here. When it starts to get down, I bring some more home. That's kind of how I do it. And then in the wintertime, or in the fall, I should say, I'll bring a whole bunch home so we have it for the fireplace. All right, let's get back to the questions. This was a very good question that came up. One guy asked me, he says, well, what kind of wood do you sell? Is it stuff you just cut and then sell it? And why do you split it? You want to know why I split the wood? So the answer is, that's what people want. One guy asked, how come your wood is so small? So the guy was asking me, why I split the wood the size that I do. I said, well, number one, the people I'm selling to, this is what they're doing right here. They're not heating their homes for the most part. Yes, I have some people that do that, but most of the people, it's caveman TV. It's for doing this. It's drinking wood. That's what I sell. Most of the people do. Then there's another chunk of people that I sell to for smoking meat. Guys that do ribs and brisket and chicken and that kind of stuff. They have smokers. And they generally buy 3 kinds of wood: hickory, cherry, and white oak. So that's another bunch of people. Then there's people that all they do is want wood for going camping. They don't even burn at home. They just have wood that they take with them that they take along when they go camping, because they don't want to buy the wood from the campground or the wood from the gas station that doesn't burn. A lot of people come to me because they say this: yeah, I bought some wood at a gas station. Yeah, we bought some wood at the campground. It was terrible. All it did was smolder. We got some wood from you last year and it was awesome. It actually burned. It's like, well, yeah, that's because I sell dry, ready to burn wood. So this guy asked me, he says, do you sell any green wood? About 2 customers a year will buy green wood, and it's almost always someone who's heating with it, and they just want to get it ahead of time, and they want to make sure they've got 6 months ahead, a year ahead, 2 years ahead, whatever. They want their wood supply, and they want to know that it's good to go. So they don't want to be surprised in the middle of winter getting wood that won't burn. They want to make sure it's been dried, fully seasoned, ready to burn now. That's what they want. So he asked me, he says, well, can you burn green wood? I said, well, there's people that try, and there's people that do, because all wood will burn. It's just a matter of how good it burns. He says, well, how come I see these people have boilers and they just throw full rounds in, full chunks in without being split? I said, well, it's because it will burn. You get enough fire going there, it will eventually burn. And a lot of those people are under the belief and misconception that, oh, it burns just fine. It burns a long time when you throw those chunks. And they burn a long time. You know why? Because it's mostly wet. And it's burning so slowly and inefficiently that it's a terrible kind of wood to burn. You're losing 30% of your heat right up the chimney, creating lots of creosote. But in a boiler, some of them, you can get away with that. And a boiler is a unit that's away from the house, and it heats up the water, or it heats up liquid, runs through the house. There's a heat exchanger where the heat is taken out of it. Then that same fluid goes back to the boiler unit. It's heated up to 170 degrees, whatever. Then it goes back again. So it's a continuous loop. And a lot of people do that. Around here anyway, it's a pretty popular way to heat. So that's one way to do it. And most of my people, they want to be able to do this with the wood. They want to be able to do this. They want to be able to pick it up with one hand. No big, huge 50-pound chunks that you throw in one at a time, or 2 into the big, chamber in your stove or wood stove. They want smaller pieces so they can throw a few pieces on every once in a while. That's what they want. And most of the people don't even care what kind it is. And that's the next question we're going to address. I had a guy that told me that in his market, nobody sells specific kinds of wood. They just sell mixed hardwood. And first thing I thought of, well, that's a perfect opportunity for this guy, whoever this guy was, to sell specific kinds of wood. Because if everybody's mixing all the wood together, throwing it together, means that there's probably a market out there for people that will buy wood and buying a specific kind. Because there are a lot of people that have, whether it's right or wrong, they have a conception that the kind of wood they like the best is the best. Kind of like if they drive a Ford or a Chevy or a Ram, they think their truck is the best. Doesn't mean it is, just because it's got a different name on it. It's just their perception. So whether they like oak or hickory or Osage orange or almond wood or fir, Doug fir, whatever it is that in their area, what is the best wood, they think that's the only wood. So I think everywhere that you sell wood, you can have specific kinds and people will buy it because they have a favorite. Especially if you've got a wide variety like we have around here. We have dozens, literally dozens of kinds of trees that you can harvest and that you can sell in quantity. It's real easy to sell oak. It's real easy to sell cherry. It's real easy to sell hickory. It's real easy to sell maple. It's real easy for us to sell all the major kinds of woods that are in an area. If you keep them separate, ash is real easy to sell. And pine is even easy to sell because there's people that want to do this with pine. I gotta put some more wood in. Kind of a wimpy fire right now. But yeah, the people want to perceive that they're getting the best wood, even if it necessarily isn't. I mean, they want to. There's people that will tell me, oh, I want oak because it's the best. I hear that a lot. Let's throw this one in right here. There's a chunk of oak right here. It's the best. Oh, smoke in the eyes. And then there's people that smoke meat, and they will tell me they have to have hickory or they have to have white oak because it's the best. But yet they all work. They all produce smoke. So that's just their perception, and that's what they want. And if that's what they want, that's fine. But they will pay more to get what they want. It is a fact. And there is a market for every price point. The higher up the chain you go, as far as buying products, if you've got a very expensive product, your market will shrink. But if you've got a cheap product, your market is wide, if it's in demand. There's a reason that there's a lot of McDonald's. It's cheap. A lot of people like it. It's not my favorite. But there's, like I said many times in the past, there's also high-end Four Seasons type restaurants that are considered, the 5-star restaurants or whatever they are. The difference between the McDonald's meal for $10 and the 4-star restaurant where it's $100, $200 a person, there's a perception that the food is better, and it might be. But there is a market for it. But the farther up you go, the smaller the market. And that brings up another topic I've talked about lots of times. There is a perception amongst firewood people that you need to live in an area where there's lots of trees, because that way you've got lots of product that you can get. Holy smokes, the fire's taking off now. That is not true. If you want to sell a lot of firewood, you need bodies, you need customers, you need people. You can take wood to the customers, but that is what's normal for making good money, is taking wood to where the people are. Like my good friend Dale Gue and Jeremiah Johnson would say, Mama Gue says you got to go where the people's is. There are way more customers in a big city than there are out in the country. Out in the country, fewer people, more trees. So you have a high density of product possibilities out in the country, a lot of trees, but very, very low customer base. Go to a big city, huge customer base or potential, but very, very small product availability in that area. So you got to bring it in. I would always rather have more customers as far as business. But for living, I want no people. I want lots of trees. I'd like to be out in the middle of nowhere myself, but I'm weird that way. No, one of the guys here made a comment. We were talking about having a firewood business and what it takes, and my response is basically this. Any caveman like myself can cut firewood and split firewood and maybe even have it for sale. But the really good ones are to have good customer service, which means answering phone calls, answering texts, following up with questions, asking more questions, helping the people get what they want, finding out what it is, and then delivering it. Because every product depends on filling a need. Every product, doesn't matter what it is. And the number one thing you want to have is good customer service, because what people want is someone who's reliable, that will show up, and they have a good product. And a good product is nice to have, but not the most important thing. The most important thing is to be reliable and show up and have a good relationship with the people. It's getting freaking hot. Holy smokes, who put all that wood on? Maniac, I tell you. Okay, I had a question to ask me. It says, how much extra time does shooting video add to your workday? A lot. I wish you guys could see what I go through to make videos. And I think I'd have a higher appreciation for what I do. But I know most of you don't really care. They just want to watch the videos. There's so much that goes on behind the scenes that it is amazing how much it takes for me to think about where to put the camera, to put it there, to make sure I don't crush it, because I knock them over all the time. My tripod's barely standing right now. It's been run over, crushed, bent, broken, snapped so many times. And I've had cameras go flying through the air. I've had cameras get crushed. They just quit working sometimes because they get tortured. But I have to think about what I'm going to be doing, where you're going to be seeing it from, what angle you're going to have. And as I come to the camera with, say, the tractor, the bucket, am I going to dump the wood so it's close enough that it adds a lot of action, but not so close that I ruin the camera, and then back out and then drive away so you can see me going away, and I got to come back and get the camera and then move it to the next spot. And that's a lot of walking around in a day, on and off the tractor constantly. One of the things a lot of people have told me, like, you should get a tractor with a cab with heating and air conditioning. It would be so much more comfortable. Yeah, I'm not outside for comfort. I'm outside because I enjoy outside. I don't want to go outside to be inside. And yes, there probably will be a day I want a heated cab or a cooled cab. But when I'm shooting video, I'm on and off the tractor dozens of times. Dozens. In one shot, I might be on and off the tractor 4 or 5 times. From the time I'm hopping on the tractor, well, setting the camera, hopping on the tractor, backing up, starting to pull away, I hop off again, I grab the camera, I put it out in front of me, I drive past the camera. After I drive past the camera, I put it to where I'm going. And then I get the tractor coming up to the spot. Then I move the camera over to another angle, and then I dump the wood. And then when I back out, I grab the camera, I put it back over like halfway, so you get me coming away from that. And then as I drive past it again, I move the camera again over to where the splitter is or wherever the wood is, me coming back to the wood. So I'm on and off the tractor 6, 7 times to do basically one little sequence, and that could last 30 seconds. It's a lot of movement. When I'm working with the guys, whether that's Bert and Adam or my brother Kenny or Jason or any of the guys that we work with, doing videos together, my favorite thing to do is to just have the camera in my hand. Because I can follow the action, go to the action, get up close, come out, see things as they're happening, so I put you guys in the action. But if I'm doing that, I can't have a chainsaw in my hands. I can't be running the splitter. I have to be running the camera, putting the camera where it shouldn't go. I mean, a lot of times, say I'm on the processor and the bar and chain are coming down, splitting or cutting the wood. You know, normally a person would put the camera 10 feet away and just show it happening. But if you want the good shot, you got to stick the camera right above the bar as it's coming down, and then as it's coming back up, you pull it away and get it coming back. And then you follow the piece of wood as it falls into the chamber. When it falls into the chamber, you see the ram coming towards it, and then you pull the camera behind it and put the camera down behind the wedge so you can get the wood coming through the wedge. That all takes time, skill, effort, knowledge, and no fear of ruining the camera. You just got to do it. But that takes so much time, so much time. So if I'm truly making a good video, I'm using 2, 3 cameras. I've used as many as 4 cameras at one time. Adds a ton of extra work because you got all the different angles to try to sequence together. But to answer the question, I would say on average it's 20 to 30% more time just to shoot the video on the work. And if it's a lot of guys working all together, I just run the camera. I don't even get anything done. I'm just on the camera. So there's that. And then however much stuff I have shot time-wise, say if I like an average day of processing wood, I might have 2 or 3 cameras running from different angles and move them a whole bunch of times. I might have worked for 4 or 5 hours. I'll have 4 or 5 hours of footage. Sometimes if I work 4 or 5 hours, I have 8 hours of footage. 8 hours, because I have multiple cameras running all at the same time. And a lot of times I'm glad I do, because sometimes one camera doesn't see the best. Sometimes the tractor goes behind the wood, you don't see anything, but the other camera that's on the tractor picks it up, so then I use that footage. So when I go to edit, those 8 hours takes about 16 hours to edit something like that. And that's an anomaly. That's not normal. Most of my stuff that I shoot, I try to shoot what's called shooting for the edit. I learned that with my photographs. Shoot for your final, which means crop it the way you want it, put the angle where you want it, get the lighting the way you want it, put the subject where you want it, and then shoot it. And that's what I try to do with the video clips that I'm shooting. I try to keep them to 15 seconds, maybe 30 seconds, maybe a minute, unless I'm doing something where it's showing a lot of work happening for a very long period of time. I will have the camera just running, and I try to move it around once in a while. I have 2 cameras and move them around. So average day, I might have 1.5, 2.5 hours of footage to go through and try to whittle that down to 15, 20 minutes, maybe 25 minutes. So there's a lot of stuff I cut out. And a lot of people tell me, well, I want to see it all. Don't cut any of it. I like it unedited. Well, maybe you do. But what happens is if you show something from the same angle for minutes after minutes after minutes, 10, 15, 20 minutes of the same thing, it gets real boring real fast. Some people like to watch a splitter just run all day long. That's some people. Then there's other people, they want solid action at all times, and I could edit 2 hours of footage down to 4 minutes, and it would be good. It would be better for them. But then there's other people, well, I didn't see what happened there. I didn't see this. I didn't see that. Well, when you're trying to keep thousands of people happy, it's not possible. So I just edit it to the best I can for the time I have available, and we're good. Sometimes I will shoot a video and I think, this is the best thing ever. I'm going to win an Oscar. Steven Spielberg will be calling me in the morning. And then it gets released. And you know what happens? It's a turd. It gets flushed down the toilet. Nobody's like, eh. But yet I put a lot of time into it. And then there's other times I'll do a video that literally takes me 20 minutes from beginning to end to shoot it. I edit it down to 12 minutes. I hit publish. I might have total time 40 minutes into that one video. And does fantastic. It gets 100,000 views, 200,000 views. You don't know until you know. I am slowly learning now, after doing so many videos, what kind of things people are looking for, what kinds of things have a longer shelf life, because I have a pretty extensive library now of content. I've got 5 years, 1,800 videos, and there's a small percentage, 10%, that kind of have a common theme that I see that I need to do more of that because it's kind of getting a lot of views. So I'm going to do more of that. Had to go make a run. My wife just went and bought me some mix. So yes, this is my favorite drink. I'm not a real huge fan of caffeine in the evening, especially because I'm not a good sleeper. And if I have caffeine in the evening, I don't sleep. And then I'm up till 2 in the morning answering comments or editing videos because I'm wide awake. So I try to stay away from caffeine, and I like Squirt. So this is my go-to. All right. Good stuff. It's just like having an angel pee on your tongue. Okay, here we go. Here's a question, and this is from a longtime viewer. And again, I'm not naming any names here because I don't want anybody to feel bad if I say something negative, and try to be nice. Is split boiler wood better than unsplit? Like 12-inch rounds, then unsplit 16-inch rounds versus 20-inch long rounds, split 4 ways. I have seen people in the comments say that all wood dries from the end grain. It will not burn anywhere other than the end grain. All the moisture goes out the end grain. And the reason they think that is that they may have rounds like this that they see the cracks on the ends, and they'll take a moisture meter and it'll be dry here. But if they test the inside, it would be very wet. Now this piece I know is wet because it's very heavy. And this is cherry. But I'm going to throw it in here anyway because I really don't care. It's just a chunk. But all wood will dry better when split like this. And the reason is, oh, it's a piece of cedar. I don't want to throw that in. That'll just spark and snap and crack, and it'll be crack-a-lacking. So when your wood is split, you expose this grain here, and this is where most of your drying happens. So split wood always dries faster than unsplit wood, by a lot. I've had oak that I have cut in the woods, and not finish the job, so to speak, meaning that I have cut rounds, stacked them up, and then maybe I split half of it, and then I had to go do something else. Or I only took part of the wood and I left some there. I had wood I cut at my buddy's land. This was about 4, maybe 5 years ago. And I had cut and split and loaded up my trailer and then took it home, and then I left some of the wood in the woods. Well, I kind of forgot all about it. And then I came back 2 years later. Some of the splits that were there, I should say all the splits that were there, dry as can be. Because I tested it. I split it open. It was like 13, 14%, because I had it kind of stacked in a little pile. And then I had a bunch of rounds there that were stacked between 2 trees. It was like maybe this, and I had like 5 or 6 rounds stacked up. I split open a couple of those rounds, and they were maybe 12, 14 inches. And it was red oak, and it was dead red oak, meaning it was dead standing wood. And I thought, well, it's got to be dry by now. It's 2 years. I split it open, and about 2 inches, I'll do it this way, about 2 inches all the way around, like this, all the way around here, was dry. The center, soaking wet, extremely wet. And the reason it was wet is the bark was still on in some areas. It was on the ground, it wasn't opened up. But when you have your pieces like this, the inside will dry, and then once it dries, the bark will come off a lot of times. So you want to split it as soon as possible. As far as ease of splitting, some people think you got to wait for your wood to dry before you split it. Well, the whole reason you're splitting it is to dry it and to make it easier to handle. You want to accelerate the drying process, and splitting is what does that. So you want to split the wood when it's green right away. The other thing a lot of people don't know, and I've mentioned this lots of times, is that when you cut a piece of wood, say this is the end piece from the harvester, and I can tell it is because it's got big ridges in it. And then this is the other side over here is the smooth part that I cut with the chainsaw. So this was the butt end of the wood. Now, if you're going to split this, whether it's with an axe or a splitter, you don't want to go into this end because this will be dried and harder and it'll be shrunk down. You want to go to the fresh cut and split into that. It'll always split better and faster and easier on the fresh cut. And the reason is as that wood shrinks down and tightens up on the end, that end grain, it tightens. And it's harder for that axe or maul or wedge on the splitter to get into it, to actually split it. If you get a fresh cut, it's moist, it's more fluffy. It's bigger because you got that moisture content in it. So the knife will split into it better, whether it's the axe, maul, or a splitting wedge. So fresh cuts always split easier. The fresh cut always splits easier. One guy asked me, and this is the next question that I saw on here, is that he has a lot of birch, and he wants to know, should I split it with the bark on or leave the bark? I mean, so should I split it now when it's freshly cut, or should I wait until it dries? Well, if you wait until birch dries, when you split it, all the bark's going to fall off, 100%. Because what happens is as birch dries down, it shrinks. The bark doesn't really shrink much. It shrinks down. When you split it, all that bark will come off. And I prefer birch especially to have the bark on because you want that to be your fire starter, plus it looks nice and pretty and all that. But if you can keep that bark on, that's a really good fire starter, and it looks nice, and you got that. So cherry is similar too. There's a lot of kinds of woods that once they dry down, the bark will fall off. Hard maple, soft maple, the bark will fall off. Locust, once it shrinks down, the bark will fall off. It actually comes off in sheets. Basswood comes off in sheets. And then there's wood that, you know, as it dries, the bark will come off easier, but it doesn't just fall off like those ones that I mentioned. I'm sure there's others. Depends on the amount of drying that happens before the wood is cut. If it's a dead tree, that bark a lot of times will pop off right away because it's shrunken down quite a bit. If it starts to rot, if you get some dry rot underneath the bark, which happens with oak, red oak especially, you'll get a little bit of there's a layer underneath, like the cambium layer underneath the bark. It's like a whitish, maybe a 1/4 inch. That whole layer will start to rot on you, and when that happens, the bark will just fall right off. With ash, the bark comes off because the trees are dead, and there is all kinds of separation because of the bugs. The emerald ash borer is boring around it and basically eating all of that layer off between the bark and the actual wood, and then the bark falls off real easily. So, but yeah, fresh cut wood splits easier. Wow, that was good. Okay, let's see what we got here. Okay, so this was another thing on the same topic. A guy asked, how come wood that's not split burns so much longer? Because it's wet inside. That's it. And people think, oh, that's good wood because it burned so long. It burned all night long. It didn't really burn, it smoldered. The worst thing you can do is have wet wood in any condition. Doesn't matter if it's a boiler, fireplace, wood stove, outside. If you want lots of smoke, if you want lots of sizzling, if you want a lot of your heat to go up the chimney and away, just burn green wood. Listen to this. This is essentially green wood here. This is a arborvitae, also known as cedar. Let's see if you guys can hear this. Get this close. Listen to this. Did you hear the sizzling? Let's do one more, just because these are getting kind of long anyway. The cedar is a lot of moisture in the needles. Needles, well, I don't know what you call them. They're not really needles. I'll see if I can get this one right in the middle. Oh, there we go. That's kind of a failure. Let's grab it there. There we go. Oh, here we go. Now we got it. There we go. Yeah, there's a lot of flame. It burns. See if the cedar will go. It's kind of being protected by the wood right there. It's almost like fireworks, sparklers. Oh, starting to go. Let's do one more, just because. Do some trimming here. It does smell good. Let's get this one in there. You hear that sizzling? There you go. So all that sizzling is moisture being burned off. So when you're burning wood that's wet on the inside, it's burning all that moisture off. And it will, yeah, it'll burn longer because it's not burning well. And a lot of that heat, like I say, is just going up your chimney in the form of steam. So very inefficient. But yet there's a lot of people that have boilers that think it's fantastic wood because it burned all night long. It was good wood. I like it when it's green. Here was my answer when a guy asked about splitting wood or burning whole rounds in the boiler. I said split wood is always better because it is and will be drier unless you want an inefficient burn and you want to have it burn wood for the same heat. If you're burning for heat, you want it to burn efficiently. You don't want to just send all that heat up the chimney. Big whole rounds can be fine and dry if they are dried a very long time, as in 3, 4, 5, 6 years. The bark is like skin, it holds moisture. The bigger the round, the wetter it'll be on the inside, period. So I want to go back. There's another guy here that made a question. He said in his area, he said nobody sells specific kinds of wood. There's no sorting necessary. All that ever happens is people just sell mixed hardwood. And my response was, well, in your area, if you had some specific kinds of wood, you would probably become the wood guy. Because number one, you'd be knowledgeable about the different kinds of wood. You could tell people, here's why this wood is better than that wood. Here's what you should get if you're looking for something for smoking meat, something for a longer burn, something for more flame, as in like what cherry and pine do. It's awesome for a campfire. Be the expert. Tell the people, here's why you want this. First ask, obviously, what are you looking for? Here's what the different woods do. I've got all these different kinds. And then you could also say, and if they say it doesn't matter, say, fine, I can do mixed hardwood. It'll be a little bit of everything. Then deliver that. But if you separate your wood out, especially your cherry and your hickory, white oak, whatever you have in your area that's the specialty wood, if you're down south, maybe it's mesquite, Maybe it's live oak, maybe it's madrone, maybe it's almond wood, pecan. You can charge more for it. If you look in big cities especially, if you look up what firewood sells for, it's amazing. And they separate it by species because they charge way more for wood that is harder to get in short supply. Way more. Way more. As in hundreds of dollars more for cord because it's a specialty wood and it's hard to get. So you can make more money with your wood if you separate it. It's not that hard. Just learn what kinds of logs you have, separate them out or separate it as you cut it, put it in different places, stack it in different piles, put it in different bins, however you do it, doesn't matter, but separate your wood. And if the worst case scenario, someone says it doesn't matter, bring me whatever, worst case scenario, bring them whatever you got a lot of. That's what I would do. If they've got no specific request for kind of wood, bring them whatever you got the most of because you can get rid of it that way. So if you've got a crap ton of aspen, which for campfire wood is fine, that's another kind that dries extremely fast. For campfire wood, it's just fine. But yeah, you don't get a lot of heat out of it. But so what? Right now, it's 70 degrees out here. I'm not cold. I'm just sitting by the fire because I like it. I'm not burning this for heat. I'm burning it for ambiance. Okay, this is a good one. Recently did a new video about the new splitter that I have. It's the Wolfridge 17 RS. It is a kind of an entry-level pro splitter. It's like $6,000. And I talked about how I didn't really need a log lift for that particular machine because in my wood yard, I try not to do a lot of tree service wood because tree service wood is extremely inefficient. It's a lot of extra work. Yeah, you can get a lot of wood from it, but I made the comment that, you know, you get these rounds that are 3 feet, 4 feet, 5 feet high. I'm talking big chunks of wood. You know, if you lay the chunk down and horizontally you cut a 16-inch piece out of it, but yet it's still 4 feet high, that's a big honking piece of wood. Because a 24-inch, 26-inch piece of oak weighs over 200 pounds. So when you go to 48-inch, it's not just twice as heavy, it's 3 times as heavy because your mass grows out and up. And my response is that when I get pieces that are hard just to roll around, which is pretty much anything over 24, 25 inches, once they get to be that size, they're hard to manage. And I would just as soon rip those in half or rip them into quarters. That's what I would rather do because then I can pick them up, set them on splitter, go. I don't have to try to manhandle them onto the splitter. And then once you get them on the splitter, unless you're using a vertical splitter, once you get them on a splitter, a lot of times what happens, those 2 pieces, you split it in half and they both fall to the ground. Because they're so big a lot of times, even if you've got a rack there or a side shelves that you can set pieces on, it might only be a foot, maybe it's a foot and a half. You get a big Muhammad Jamba 36, 40-incher, what are you going to do to stop it from falling? If you got 2, 3 guys, yeah, you can, but what are you going to, you can't put both of the halves back on the splitter again to split it. One of them's got to, you got to go somewhere with it. I find it's still easier if you don't have a vertical splitter. Just split them all in halves and quarters. They're much easier to handle. And if you got a decent chainsaw, meaning not a weenie saw, something that's at least a 70cc, 80, 90cc saw, something that's got some, it's no big deal to rip them. It's not that hard. The saws just cut right through them. And I've ripped every kind of wood that we have in our area. One of the probably the hardest woods we have would be locust. It's just like lead. Locust is very heavy, very dense wood, and you can rip those no problem. Dry ash, you can rip that no problem. Hard maple, rip it, no problem. Just knock them down. It's the easiest way to handle them. So when you get a big, huge piece, yes, a lot of people say, oh, you get so much wood from one round. Yeah, you do. But there's a price to pay for that. Sometimes it's surgery to fix your hernia. Sometimes it's a crushed finger and you get a black nail. Sometimes it falls off and lands on your foot. Even if you got steel toe shoes on or boots, it can land on your foot and it still hurts. Sometimes they'll fall and they'll hit your shin and it rips your shin apart. There's all kinds of things that happen with big wood that no one talks about. They're like, oh, I got that one round, I got 30 pieces of wood out of it. Well, yeah, but you spent a half an hour to get those 30 pieces. From the time you start manhandling it to get it to your lift, to lift it up, to knock it in half, handling all that, and then knocking it all down, I say it's faster to have rounds that are easy to handle, 12 inchers. So if you get a 24-inch round, however big that is, you rip it into quarters, it's actually a lot easier to handle, and I think faster. So there's that. So this guy said he loves tree service wood because it's so big and you get so much wood from it, and it's always free. I said, yes, but it's free for a reason. It comes with a high price. The high price is time, effort, sweat, sore muscles, sore back, crushed fingers, all those things I mentioned. It comes with an extreme cost, the great big stuff, because of how much work it is. Yeah, you get a lot of wood from it. But I have looked at what I can produce in a day by cutting tree service wood, big stuff, by cutting and splitting it, what I can produce in a day versus stuff that's manageable, that you can handle, that you can easily pick up and move and process. Even if you're not using a processor, if you're just using a chainsaw and an axe or a maul, the big stuff's terrible. Very slow. Yeah, you get a lot of wood from it, but it takes a lot of time, a lot of effort. I prefer the stuff that you can handle, the stuff that's 12 to 16 inches tops. 8 to 12 is ideal. At 8-inch rounds, awesome. You get 4 pieces of wood done. And you can handle them and throw them and chuck them, and it's just way easier. Big wood comes with a price. And it is time and effort. And it's very slow to produce a lot of wood with big wood. So it comes with a price. So free isn't always ideal. We need some more wood in the fire. I'm going to throw in some shoddy baby. This is all chunks of cherry I'm throwing in right now. Here's one. We got a couple more here yet. Oh, we got some schnappa-lappin'. Let's throw this one. There we go. Chunks of cherry. My favorite wood. People have asked me, what's your favorite? Dry wood. My favorite. Sold wood. One of my favorites. Dry sold wood. But I like cherry. It just burns really nice. It might not be the highest BTU wood, but the bark on it is similar to birch. It's got some type of oil in it, so once the flame hits it, the bark kind of takes off really nice. It's a nice steady, even burn. The flames are kind of a bluish green. It smells fantastic. It's easy to cut, easy to split, easy to dry. When people get it and have it, and I used to give out samples of it because not a lot of people knew that it was such good wood, and I had about a truckload years ago. People then, when they had it, they're like, I gotta have more cherry. That was the most awesome wood I've ever had. I hear that a lot. So it's good stuff. All right, next one. With an 8-way wedge, why run the ram for resplits when I only throw one piece in? Throw all 4 in, or 5 in, and then split them all at the same time. 2 strokes instead of 5. Well, that's a good point. That would be nice if the knives were set up exactly to cut those pieces in half. This is running the processor. So what I do a lot of times, we have the 8-way wedge on, because that's the one that is the most efficient, the one I like the most. We will, say you get a bigger round and you get 2 or 3 pieces that come over the top, and they're a little big. They're perfectly fine for like heating wood or something like that, but if you can't quite pick it up with one hand, it's a little too big. Number 1, because my customers want that size wood. Number 2, I want it to dry faster. It's easier to handle, and it dries better, so I can turn it over faster. Those are the reasons, and that's what people want. So that's really all that matters. So what I do a lot of times, I take those pieces, I'll grab 2 or 3 of them, and I throw one in the bottom of the splitting chamber. I run the ram, and then the ram splits it. But a lot of times what happens is I have my wedges up slightly, and then it's just a single wedge in the middle, the main center wedge, and that wood will get split perfectly in half. And then I throw another one, split perfectly in half. Throw another one, split perfectly in half. Now, if I was to throw in 3, 4, 5 of those, sometimes what happens is those pieces go right between the wedges because they're already wedge-shaped. So they don't actually even split. Worst case scenario yet, what happens, as it's going through that wedge, only a little bitty sliver will get caught by a knife, and you get kindling. Little bitty slivers come off, and you got to do it again anyway. So by throwing them in one at a time, maybe 2 if you can position them just right so that they get split, then that works. The other problem with running lots of them at once is a lot of times you'll put them in and one or two of the pieces will get hit by like all the wedges, and then you get 5 or 6 pieces of kindling instead of 1 or 2. So that's the reason why. It's a good question, but if you do it enough, you start to see things happen, and then you know not to do it again, or you should do more of it if it works better. But that's why I throw in a lot of times 1 piece at a time to be resplit in the splitting chamber on the processor. Hopefully that helped. It's getting dark out. We need more flames here. We need some more flameage. Maybe I have to put some. I'll have to put some cedar on. This is gonna make lots of noise. It's gonna be very crack-a-lacking. Gonna have sparks flying everywhere. I'll probably die. I'm doing this just for you guys so you can see. Not that you need to see me, but that's gonna be loud. Once that stuff takes off, it's fireworks. Okay. This person made a comment, something about IBC totes. There are a lot of other firewood channels that use IBC totes. How come you don't? Well, because they don't produce very much wood. I produce about 200 full cords. One IBC tote will hold about 1/3 of a cord. I would need a minimum of 600, at least 600, just to hold the wood that I have. And then I have to stack the wood in it. And if I don't stack it, you need more totes because you can't get a face cord or 1/3 of a cord into a tote. So I'd have to stack it all, which means going in the cage and stacking it. Time I don't want to spend. I want it to dry as fast as possible. I want to touch it as little as possible. So when it comes to the totes, and if you're going to stack them, they have to be perfectly level. You can't have them heaped. If you're going to stack them, they have to be even. So there's that. IBC totes in my area, 35 to 40 bucks a piece. And if I was to have, say, 600 of them just to fit the wood I have, then what do I do with the extra wood that I'm cutting? I have to have more IBC totes. So I'd need another 100, 200. And then if someone wants me to drop off an IBC tote, this is a question that comes up all the time. Why don't I just deliver in the totes? When I get to the destination with the trailer, with the IBC tote or 2 or 3 in the trailer, how do I unload them? Do I just dump the IBC totes out in whole and then let the people deal with it? Or do I empty them out 1 piece at a time? Do I have to take another piece of machinery or another truck or somehow pull another trailer to have a tractor with forks or a skid steer to be able to unload those totes? Never thought of that, did you? So there's that. The next thing is that when I have all these totes in my wood yard, and if they get used on a regular basis, they fall apart. They don't last that long, especially if you're taking the top bars out and if you're cutting the sides out of them so that you can stack into them. You lose all your rigidity and they start falling apart. So then I got to replace them. So if I was to actually be forced to use IBC totes, I would be probably leaning towards stacking them in the totes because it does look nice and you save a lot more space. I shouldn't say you save space, you make more space, because in an unstacked tote you can get about 1/2 of a face cord. In a stacked one, if you heap it, you can get a face cord or 1/3 of a cord. So there's that. So that's where the issue happens. It's time, effort, and yeah, people say, oh, your bins, it's because you got all that space. Yeah, so get more space. Buy more land, expand your wood yard, whatever it is you got to do, make it work. Yeah, and if you've got a IBC tote system, great. I can see it for the end user. For instance, what a lot of people do is they have their IBC totes, they keep them outside for about a year, and a lot of times they'll put them into a shed or under a covering, or they cover the tops of them. They do something to keep the snow and rain off of them, and then they're able to pick them up with their tractor, skid steer, and then move them to where they're going to be burning. They can set them by the wood boiler, set them by their porch, whatever, and they can take the wood out of it. So there's less handling once the wood is in the tote. But you got to get it in the tote. So if you want to get a lot of wood in the tote, you got to stack it. And I don't want to touch the wood. And I've stacked in a tote. I know what it takes. It's a lot of goofing around, so to speak. It's not easy. It takes time. Even if you cut a hole in the front, you still got to get it all in there. If you're only cutting stuff for yourself, then fine, it works. And if you've got a tractor, a skid steer, a way to move it, fine. But hopefully you got something else to do with that tractor, skid steer, besides just moving your totes, because if that's the case, your wood is extremely expensive. Kind of like the old theory that if a girl comes up to you in a bar and says, hey, will you buy me a drink? And the guy says, well, I actually can't afford to buy you a drink. And then she says, I am not a hooker. And then the answer back is, well, I definitely cannot afford you then, because you want more than just the one night. That's expensive. That's very expensive. The other thing with the IBC totes that I disagree with their efficiency, and it's just, yeah, they look nice, but it's the time you put into it. I think more than anything what it is, it's the OCD. People that want to have it just look perfect, and that's fine, but it's a big waste of time. If you're actually in firewood to make money, time is everything. The faster you can produce it with the least amount of touches, the least amount of effort, the more profitable each piece is. It took me a while to learn this. There was guys years ago that were telling me, hey, you got to stop touching the wood so much. You got to stop handling it. Why are you stacking it? You're wasting time. Just throw it in a big pile. I didn't get it, but now I get it. To answer this guy's question, I said I would need probably right around 800 totes. That's what I would need. And at 40 bucks a piece, that's $32,000 for totes. But that's not the expensive part of it. The expensive part is how much time I have to put into the totes to either prep them or stack them and move them. Whereas the way I do it now, the wood goes into a trailer, it goes up an elevator and into a bin, and then it goes from the bin into the trailer, and then I dump it. Ideally, I'd like to get to 0 touches, which would be nice. I know guys that do that. The only time the wood gets, I shouldn't say touches, handling, you should say. Or you can say handling, gets moved. A lot of guys will take the wood from their log truck, put it on the ground. So that's one handle. Well, I should get back up. If you're buying the wood, yeah. But if you're cutting your own wood, you're in the woods. You're in the woods loading it. And then you're cutting it and then moving it and then loading it. So there's a lot of steps involved. I guess that's the right word to say, the steps involved. But if you're buying the wood, you're buying a truckload. It comes there. They set it on the ground for you. You pay them a bunch of money, and then they drive away, and then you got your logs. The next thing is that I would take the tractor with the grapple, grab it, set it on the processor, process the wood into firewood rounds, split it into firewood-sized pieces into a trailer, drive it out. Either dump it, would be awesome. The big producers have it go right up a big elevator into a big pile, and they never touch it. They scoop it up with a big loader. It goes through a tumbler into a truck. They drive away and they dump it. They never touch it. But there is a lot of handling involved as far as steps that they have to take to do it. So no matter what you do, like my brother Ken always says, no matter what you do, firewood is work. The whole plan of making firewood, making it profitable, is to eliminate as many steps as possible. You want to touch it as few times as possible. Let's see if we got any other questions here. Oh, here's a good one. So, can firewood be too dry? What moisture meter reading would tell us that it's too dry? None. There's no such thing as too dry a wood. That, to me, is a huge myth. I have wood that I have used a moisture meter and tested. The lowest I've ever had has been 7%, 8% consistently through a whole pile. It was stuff my dad had cut that was 5, 6 years old out in the field. It was off the ground and it had tin on top of it. And the sides were open. It was 7%. It was during a year we had a drought, and I split it open and tested it, and it was pretty big chunks. It was dry, really dry stuff. So it burned fantastic. The drier it is, the more efficient your burn is going to be. So that's one of the things you got to know about. Now, some people will say that, oh, if it gets rain on it, that's really bad for the wood. No, the rain dries right off. Do you ever notice how when it rains outside, where it usually rains outside, and the next day the sun comes out, within a matter of a couple hours, the streets are dry, sidewalks are dry, because it dries. Wood does the same thing, it dries. It doesn't hurt it. The moisture does not get sucked into the wood. Once the tree is dead, it's cut into rounds or split into pieces, that wood all shrinks down. It does not accept more moisture into it. Just the outside gets a little bit of wetness on it, and it'll dry right off. So I asked this of my father-in-law. I remember this specifically. I was probably 22, 23. I think we had just gotten married, and he had a pile of wood outside. And it was stacked between two trees, and he had shingles across the top of them. And I said, how long has that wood been there? And he said, oh, that's been there 4 or 5 years at least, maybe 6. I said, well, is it any good anymore? He said, what do you mean is it any good? I said, well, if it's been outside that long, it probably won't burn, huh? Not thinking that it was covered and it was off the ground. I just thought, well, it's old wood, because I've seen old wood on the ground and it's usually all full of bugs and moss and it's decaying, that kind of stuff. And he said, well, it's dry, it's been dry. He said, if you were to take a chair from in the house that we got from our parents when we got married 60 years ago, he said, do you think that chair would burn? He said, it's been in our house now for 60 years. He said, or if you take a door off the hinges, you bring it out and you put it in the fire, do you think that door would burn? Or if you got a dresser that's made out of wood, if you take that and throw it in a fire, do you think it'll burn? I said, yeah, probably. He said, well, that's probably a good indicator that dryness is dryness. It doesn't matter. It would dry just fine. How is it the house is burned to the ground? They're made out of wood, a lot of them. They have 2x4s, 2x6s construction, plywood. It all burns because it's dry. And it's protected from the elements. So the too dry thing is, to me, a huge myth. If it gets wet and it's in contact with the ground, it gets wet over and over, it starts to rot. Then when it gets to the point where it starts to decay, because it's an organic material, once it starts to break down in that chunk of wood that weighed 30 pounds after, say, being on the ground 5-6 years, and it's dried and then wet, dried, wet, dried, wet, bugs are in it, it's organic material that's decaying down, and all of a sudden it's like balsa wood. You know, it weighs 3 pounds. That's too dry. What that means is the wood is decayed down, but it's not necessarily too dry. Oh, one of the other things that people that have big wood boilers or stoves, and they will burn wood that is extremely dry, and it burns faster than the green wood they throw in, and they think, oh, it's too dry. That wood was too dry. It was old and too dry. That's why it burned so fast. No, it burned really well. It burned really efficiently. You got more heat out of that wood than you did the green stuff that burned for twice as long. Just because it sits there and smolders and sizzles for twice as long in a big round versus a split piece. Say if you take a round that's 12 inches, leave it, don't split it, so that's it for a year. Take a round exactly the same size from the same tree, split it into 5 or 6 pieces. Which one of those do you think is going to produce more heat? They produce the same amount of heat. If the round one is dry. Now, if that round one is not dry, it's not going to produce as much heat. It might burn longer because it's not burning efficiently. That's just one man's opinion. Happens to be a fact. This is a good one. The reason, this guy made this comment, the reason that wood heat feels so much better is that when you get a fire going, it's a continuous heat. It literally warms everything up, especially in your house. It'll warm up the floors, the walls. It's continually burning, so everything is kind of just a steady heat. Whereas if you've got forced air with gas, LP, oil, whatever it is, that flame burns for a little while, and then once the flame goes out, the fan will run maybe another minute or two, and then you got no heat being produced. And then once that heat dissipates out through the roof, out through the walls, coming through the windows, whatever it is, that thermostat will be coming down, and all of a sudden it recognizes, oh, it's below the desired temperature. Turn the heat on again. So it's a constant flow. And yeah, you can get them so that they're fairly efficient. And I'm sure they're pretty good. But it does not feel like wood heat. Wood heat is just the best. So this guy made a comment. He says, with wood heat, once the house gets warm enough, the dampers get closed, but the fireplace keeps going to produce heat. With a furnace, the heat fluctuates between enough and not enough. With wood, the heat fluctuates between enough, more than enough, and then too much. To get down to the physics of it, with a forced furnace, the air in the house is warmer than the surface because you only ever heat the air. Whereas with the wood heat, you get the ambient heat that's warming up everything. Like right now, I'm feeling the heat coming off the fire. It's awesome because it cooled down a whole bunch once the sun went down. With wood heat, the air stays warm, the structure stays warm. I just realized how dark it was getting, so I went and I turned a light on here so we can see if we can finish this here. We got a couple more comments or questions to go through, so let's see what we have here. One guy made a comment on my video I did about my axes and the story I had behind the axes, which is one of those things that there's not a lot of material things that mean a lot to me. Because to me, stuff is just stuff. It can be replaced. But there are some special things that each of us may have that has meaning to us because of who it came from or what you were doing when you got it, or the circumstances that evolved from it. And I had some stories about my axes. One guy made a comment that it was a nice collection of stories, and I said, thank you very much. And my comment was that to me, stories are one of the most valuable things you can have as a person. One of the next ones is probably friends, family. I put family before the friends, but stories are very valuable. People is what really matters, but having experiences with people and having stories is what matters. Some people say, oh, he who dies with the most money, he who dies with the most toys wins. No, I don't agree with that at all. Not even a little bit. Stuff is just stuff. It means nothing. It can be taken away in a minute. It's the stories and the time you spend with people that mean everything. To me, living and doing the things you enjoy doing with friends and family is what life is about, whatever that is. If it happens to be work, it's work. If it's play, it's play. If it's trips, it's trips. If it's hobbies, it's hobbies. Whatever it is you enjoy doing with friends and family, that's what matters most. Those stories are the things that old people tell for a reason. You talk to any really old person that is towards the end of their life, they will tell you stories. And the reason is, those are the things that mean the most. Those are the things that they experienced that stuck with them to the end, the stories. The relationships, things you did, places you went, things you saw, things you experienced. That's what matters. I think this is a good place to stop for tonight. I'm going to sit out here and finish my drink and answer some comments. Right now, you got other videos to go watch. That's all I got for tonight. I think I'm done. I got other things for the next time, but tonight that's enough. I think it's a good way to end it right there. So I will see you tomorrow morning, 5:30 a.m. with another video. Good night, everybody.